So this One Piece chapter gave us a lot of content, but I'm not going to do no silly intro. It's getting straight into what I want to talk about. And the first thing, guys, I want to talk about, of course, was from the East Coast Conference All-Stars. Yes, they came to God Valley on the East Coast. I know it's a little joke for you guys, NBA fans, but I will say this. They are coming in hot on the East Coast of God Valley. It's the Rocks Pirates, and we see Rocks himself say some words. He says, "Give up, you lousy Marines." It's like he's dissing the Marines right off the get-go, and then he tells his crew, "Follow my lead." Now this would be normal. A captain telling his crew follow my lead would be normal, but he's not having no regular crew. Like, the greatest crew of all time is the Pirate King's crew, Goldie Roger's crew. But even that crew, I don't think we're allowing that crew. This crew is too many heads butting because there's too many captains a part of this crew, guys. So that statement, "follow my lead crew," was definitely more impactful because of who he's talking to, guys. Then, of course, we get a very interesting take from Whitebeard. Whitebeard says, "Don't rush me, Rocks." So he's pretty much talking back to his captain. He says, "Rocks, don't rush me." And he said, "When did I say I let an idiot like you give me orders?" So already Whitebeard is keeping Rocks humbled, yo. Like, listen, I never said you could talk to me like that, okay, or give me orders or anything like that. Just showing you how toxic the Rocks Pirates were when the strongest character other than Rocks is Whitebeard is talking back to him. Definitely gonna start a lot of commotion, and it makes sense that statement we saw from Whitebeard during the Odin flashback, how he doesn't like too many strong conquerors talking together because that's last crew and Kozuki Oda wanted to join. But of course, Kozuki Oda and Whitebeard would definitely worked really well. The second division commander, former second division commander. Then of course, I gotta mention it, guys. Stussy says it to Newgate, "Not you two." That is interesting because she's pretty much saying everybody in the crew is talking back to Rocks, and now you are joining in on disrespecting the Captain Rocks. Because Whitebeard is different from these other pirates like Kaido, Big Mom, Shiki, Rocks. They seem more savage-like. Whitebeard seems more chill, just wants a family. Remember that flashback when Whitebeard's talking about he just wants a family and they laughed at him? That's the vibe I get from Edward Newgate, one of my favorite characters in the One Piece story. Now I do gotta say this. She is of course sitting on Whitebeard's shoulder, and Larissa says, "Back off." Like Larissa Elder Neon, yes, we never thought she was actually a Rocks pirate. Well, she was, and she says, "Back off, Stussy, you're only making a fool of yourself." In which Stussy says, "That's rich coming from you." Now it seems that they're fighting over Whitebeard, and if that's the truth, yo, Whitebeard's riz is immaculate. Or am I tripping? And now a lot of people are gonna be claiming, "Oh, Edward Weevil is actually Whitebeard's son." Listen, I still think self-proclaimed. I'm gonna need heavy confirmation on that. But right now we see the girls fighting over Whitebeard. Of course, when it comes to Clarissa and Miss Stussy, Miss Buckins, of course, it's pretty cool to see. Then, of course, we get a cut to Shiki, and Shiki says this, "Finders, keepers, that sounds good to me." So he has no teamwork, no camaraderie. He just says, "Finder, keepers, that sounds good to me." Now, I have to admit, guys, this is kind of like the first time we're actually getting Shiki in the manga. Now, I'm not going to count Chapter 0 or Impel Down, where they talk about he's the first man to escape Impel Down. Let's be honest here, those chapters, yes, they're canon, but they're hyping up the movie, Strong World. This is the first time where Oda is literally making Shiki an actual legitimized character. And I've every one of the Rocks I've seen in this chapter, Shiki surprised me the most because Oda gave him a lot of shine, a lot of hype. There were so many debates about this character, and now we're seeing him up front. It was pretty cool. Now, of course, Big Mom is next, and she says, "It's all gonna be mine." So Big Mom, of course, just like Shiki, wants it all. So one thing I noticed is the three guys that are really showing their self-interest, not really self-interest, but more so leadership roles, is Whitebeard, of course, Big Mom, and Shiki. And let's be honest here, Oda said it. If you guys do not know, Oda said the Yonko, if there was a Yonko system back in Roger's days, it would have been Roger, Whitebeard, Shiki, and Big Mom. So those four pirates, and three of them were on the Rocks. So definitely gotta say, now I'm talking about the Roger when Rocks passed away. When Rocks passed away, that would have been the four Yonko system. And just shows how crazy it is that all three of these guys are on the same crew. Now, you guys thought I wouldn't mention Kaido. The young buck Kaido also says something. He says, "It will be pointless in your hands." So he's replying to Big Mom. We know Kaido and Big Mom had a special relationship that definitely got explored during the Wano arc. He literally was crying when Big Mom lost the kid-in-law. So he says to Big Mom, it'll be useless in your hands, because I think Big Mom has a Delphi ability, so it does make sense what Kaido says. And it was funny, in hindsight, Kaido did get the Delphoid ability. Big Mom did give Kaido the Delphoid ability. Now, of course, I'm not going to leave out the last Rocks pirate that says something in that panel. Of course, that is Captain John. I think Captain John is one of the more underrated characters. Of course, with his whole buggy plotline pre-time skip that went all the way into Impel Down. Who would have thought? From Thriller Bark to Impel Down. Like, there were so many plot lines with Captain John. And he says one thing. He says, "My precious treasure." That's crazy. And he's laughing while saying it, while he's drinking too. Now, you have to understand, pre-time skip, just like Roger's treasure was very, very famous, Captain John's treasure is very famous. So what they're after, I think Captain John might be the one to actually get it. I don't think it's going to be Rocks, or of course, Rocks Lost, of course, or anybody else. I think it actually might be Captain John. That's my sleeper pick. Obviously, I have my obvious picks, but my sleeper pick will be Captain John. Of course, I think the crown jewel that was taken from Pirate Island, I think he could be the one to actually get it back. And that's maybe what Buggy was looking for. Remember, Luffy helped out Buggy and Impel Down, giving him the hint to that. So I think Captain John is going to be... I think Oda is showing Captain John more highlighted because he's going to be a relevant character when it comes to Cross Guild and just future plot events. Now we're going to know, okay, Captain John, a little bit more about this guy. He was a Rocks pirate, guys, in his heyday. Then we get to the good part. Yes, you guys all know what I'm talking about. Whitebeard says that Moron Rocks will just lose sight of our main goal, and we gotta confirm if it's here. So Whitebeard is definitely on a mission. He's not here for no dumb Delphoid prizes or little things like that. He wants what was taken from Pirate Island, and he thinks Rocks is gonna get distracted. And it makes sense, yo. When there's a Gorosei, the Holy Knights, and Celestial Dragons all there hunting down these rare prizes that they are, of course, they call them rabbits, but they're actually humans. Rocks will definitely get distracted, plus Roger and Garp on the way as well. So Whitebeard definitely knows how his captain is. And probably one of my favorite moments in this chapter is when Shiki says to Whitebeard, "And who died and put you in charge?" That's crazy. Then he says, "I'm gonna blow you all out of my way." Now I gotta say this, Shiki, when we've seen him in chapter 0, and when we've seen him been talked about in Impel Down, he's been talked about like a top shot. I just talked about how there was a Yonko system during Pirate King era. He would have been one of the Yonkos. That's what words from Oda, not myself. He's giving me, when it comes to the Rocks Pirates, Sanji vibes of the crew, the third guy. It was very controversial because a lot of people thought that Big Mom was the third guy of the Rocks Pirates. They thought it was Kite, they thought it was Rocks, then Vice Captain Whitebeard, then the third commander in Big Mom, and then the fourth commander in Kaido. But from these dialogues, I'll tell you guys right now, it looks like it's Rocks, Whitebeard, Shiki, then Big Mom. It looks like Big Mom is the Jack, and of course, it looks like Shiki is the Queen, and that would make Whitebeard the King if there was a beast, like if I was comparing it to the Beast Pirate. So definitely, that's what I noticed. Or you could say Jinbei, Sanji, and Zoro. Jinbei would be the Big Mom, Sanji would be, of course, Shiki, Zoro would be Whitebeard. These are just some comparisons, that would make you guys understand what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I thought that was very, very interesting when it comes to how they perceived perceptions of reality, guys. So how they perceived Shiki in the flashback. Then of course we see Big Mom say, "I'll snatch it from under all your pathetic noses." So like I said, Big Mom is still one of the top dogs in the Rocks crew. Just because I think that Shiki might be a little bit above her, I still think Big Mom is on the same level as Shiki and Prime Whitebeard. I think Prime Whitebeard, of course, no, okay, Prime Whitebeard is different, but I think like around that level. They're the top guys from back in the days, and I think Big Mom is a monster. She's always been a monster, and I thought that was very, very cool that she is still putting herself, because we've seen it in Wano when she said don't trust Rocks. So she literally talks back to Rocks, Whitebeard, Shiki. She doesn't care who's in front of her. She thinks she's the strongest. And from what I've seen the story from Big Mom in her old age, yo, Big Mom is a very powerful character, yo. Like before she lost, it took Eustace, Kid, and Law awakening the Delphoid ability and teaming up to take out Big Mom, and they still couldn't do it. They needed help from the explosions, guys. So definitely gotta say, put some respect on Big Mom's name. And she also says, "All your heads are in the clouds. It'll be gone before you know it." Honestly, I think that's because I think Big Mom is... And look, you know what's funny? Big Mom actually got Kaido's Delphoid ability. She did get a prize. I think that statement from Big Mom is saying that you guys are going to be going for the end game, the big stuff, while I'll be, of course, going more of what's in front of me. That's what I've noticed from Big Mom. She seemingly seems more realistic in a sense. Like she pulled to Wano, guys. Think about that. Then Kaido says it best, yo. "Looks like Roger is on his way. as well. And he says he's the one person and he was about to say something but gets interrupted from Big Mom, his of course senior, and Big Mom says, one thing at a time, rookie. So Kaido gets kind of like, a lot of people says Kaido gets kind of punked by Big Mom here, and rightfully so. Big Mom is stronger than Kaido at this time, and Kaido is their apprentice on the Rocks Pirates. But I want to know what the beef between Roger and Kaido is. That means that last time that the Rocks probably interacted, Roger did something to Kaido. Like, Roger probably maybe fought Kaido. We do know that Kaido did say there's only a certain amount of people that could fight me. He had Roger in that list alongside Odin, Shanks, Whitebeard, and Rock. So I want to know what the history between Kaido and Roger. This chapter, like I said, definitely started a lot of things. And we all know at the end of Wano, we said Roger did it without a Delphin ability. He reigned supreme because Haki transcends all. He gave Roger his flowers. Then, of course, there's Stussy, who says this is going to be a decisive battle. Captain John says, that's right, don't forget it. Today's the day we settle this. This looks like the Rock. That's interesting. That's interesting. And then, of course, Captain John says, that's right, don't forget it. And then, of course, Elder Neon Clarissa says, today's the day we settle this. It looks like the Roger Pirates versus Rocks Pirates already happened before God Valley, but it wasn't settled. It looks like that it wasn't finished. The battle wasn't finished, and this is unfinished business. So there's definitely some history here, some background history, and we might get a flashback within a flashback. This is just making God Valley even better of a flashback. Honestly, I wouldn't mind having a God Valley arc. Like, just make a whole arc for this flashback, because it is looking so hype and so fun to read, and we're just getting tidbits right now. Oh my. Then we have to talk about it, guys. From the West Coast Conference All-Stars. Yes, I had to do another NBA All-Star reference, but Gold D. Roger. It looks like he brought a Grand Fleet from the way the Celestial Dragons are talking. But Gold D. Roger pulls up on the West Coast, the opposite of the Rocks, and he's ready. You see Rayleigh talking about this looks rough, just observing the scenery. We see Roger saying, finally. That's insane that Roger's saying finally. That means he really hasn't got that much smoke in the last time he's been on seas. Do you have any idea how it felt all this year? So I'm guessing there's some unfinished business with Rocks. I think he's talking about Rocks here, but I could be wrong. Did he lose? Did Roger lose? The GOAT? I don't know. Did he try to get his get back? I'm not too sure. But then Gabon says this, Roger, no using the captain card to call dibs. Now, I took two things from this. Roger definitely doesn't want anyone to get his opponent. Roger's kind of like Luffy, where he wants the strongest. And I also noticed that Scopper Gabon is not dodging the smoke, and we know that because he fought Kazuki Odin in his prime and lived. Scopper Gabon fought Kazuki Odin in his prime and lived. That's how you know he's a monster. So the fact that he's right now telling Roger don't call dibs, he definitely wants some smoke too. I think Roger, Rayleigh, and Gabon here, minimum Admiral level. I think Roger is Pirate King level at this moment. I think Rayleigh is Yonko level, and I would say Scarborough Gabon is at least Admiral level, but he could be Yonko level as well. These guys look incredibly powerful. Because end of story, I wouldn't be surprised if Zoro and Sanji become Yonko level. Then we see who they're facing immediately. It's Figurland Garling, and he looks like he's ready, yo. He even says all the Marines go back and protect the Celestial Dragons, and then we see two Holy Knight characters. Like, we already saw some Holy Knights, but then this is two more Holy Knight characters beside him, and he's dissing the Marines for having all those ships but still letting Roger and his crew pull up. So it looks like the first fight we're going to see is going to be Roger versus, of course, Figurland Garling. And we know this deeper because Roger is kind of like Shanks' father, and Figurland Garling we all think is Shanks' father. So this could be interesting where this takes off, but all in all, I'm hyped to see it, guys. And then, of course, the civilians from all this madness say, look, Roger and Rocks came, they didn't know that was gonna happen, and man, oh man, they're just like scared because it looks like these guys 38 years ago were the top pirates of their time. Roger and Rocks, the Willie D members, were the GOATs, and I would say it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise at all. Then, of course, in the beginning of the chapter, I have to talk about it. Garp is literally on he's on vacation, yo. And he's just on his beach chair. It kind of reminds me of Aokiji post Enies lobby when he was chilling when Garp was fighting Luffy's crew. But yeah, Garp is confused because he's like, yo, I'm not traveling all the way down there for no reason. What's going on? And Kong says, I can't tell you. And it looks like Kong is always trying to pretty much make Garp do something, because we saw in chapter 0 he tried to convince Garp as well to take the admiral position, but he said no. So Kong and Garp's relationship is pretty funny, I will admit. And then of course Garp says the Celestial Dragons took the crown jewel from Pirate Island Beehive. They deserve it. You can't mess around with those guys. So Garp is kind of like, yo, they deserve it. The Rock's going after them. They kind of started a battle. They have to fight themselves. That's crazy that Garp is saying that. That's how much he doesn't like the Celestial Dragons. And then of course Kong says, where did you hear that? So that's not news that Garp should have known, but this Garp has ears and eyes everywhere. And then Garp says, they got extra protection now. Why are you tripping over this whole situation? Because of course, if you think about it, Garp knows the Saturn is there, who's incredibly powerful, and of course the Holy Knight. So Garp's thinking, why do you need me? Like, it's not that big of a deal, guys. And then of course he says it, Roger is on the way. And that's where Garp says, you should have just said that from the beginning, yo. And he gets off his chair and he's excited and he wants to go. And I'm noticing that Garp always goes after Roger. Kind of reminds me of Smoker, how he used to always go after Luffy. And honestly, I'm hyped to see more of this Garp-Roger relationship be uncovered, because we know God Valley, they team up. So he went there to fight Roger, but they actually end up teaming up. Isn't that crazy, guys? And of course, when all looks like it's going to be a sad moment for these civilians, Celestial Dragons, anybody, because just two of the most legendary pirate crew pull up, guess who comes after that conversation? Yes, it's the big dog Garp. And I say Garp looks big. Like, he looks like a very, like, he looks like a prime version of himself. You know how Garp has his chest out, this big stature. He looks like a prime version of that person we know of. And we see Garp pulling up, and he looks excited. He's looking for Roger. And of course, there's also the guy that's one of the most famous characters that hasn't done anything in the One Piece story. I'm talking about Bogard. Yes, Bogard has his sword out. So this looks cool to see Garp and his vice captain coming up to help. And you think about it now, you got Garp, you got his vice captain Bogard, we got Scopper Gabon, Rayleigh, Roger. It looks like it's making more sense how Garp and Roger won against Rocks, because they had a lot of help. Now that you think about it, people just thought it was Garp Roger versus, of course, all the characters that Sengoku named on the Rocks Pirates. No, Rayleigh, Gabon, Bogard, there's some guys, there's some dogs there, and if Figurlon Garling helps out too, there's some dogs there that's gonna help, of course, really even out the playing fields. Of course, we finally see the infamous moment where this has been talked about all of Wano, yo. Big Mom literally led in reverie when she said, Kaido, don't forget a lifelong debt, what I gave you. And then Wano exposed it, it was his Delphin ability, and we see it in live action. Big Mom stealing Kaido's fruit from Ivankov, and Ivankov tells Kuma, yo, eat your fruit right now, because of course the Papa fruit would have belonged to probably someone in the Beast Pirates for all we know, because Big Mom, or someone in the Whole Cake Island, actually if you think about it, someone on the Big Mom Pirates. So definitely cool that Kuma ate that fruit right away and saved the day, of course, because that would have been a different timeline. And I gotta say, Big Mom was gunning for that Kaido Delphin ability. She jumped right when Ivankov had it, so I thought that was very, very cool. And then we see it, Saturn. And Saturn is so scary how he's just wandering around God Valley. Like, he's wandering around God Valley like no one can touch him. Prime, Roger, Rocks, Whitebeard, Shiki, Big Mom, Rayleigh, Gabon, Bogard, young Kaido's there, Stussy, Captain John, Wang Ji, Silver Axe, Larissa. Like, I don't care. All these legendary pirates are there, and Marines, Garp, Bogard, like I said. And Saturn just wandering around like no one here is stronger than me. That's what the energy I felt from Saturn. I don't know what it was. And he does his secret head tap technique that we saw on Naked Island on Kuma. And Kuma looks like he's about to be taken out. And Saturn says the whole Buccaneers are born to be slaves or die. And then Kuma says something very important. He says, how could you be born important? And how can I be born a slave? What's the point of me even living? And I'm going to save people with this power like Nika did. And Saturn just says he's very angry, this is why your people need to be erased. This guy Saturn is racist, bro. This guy is super racist, but honestly, I don't think it's actually a race thing. I think it has to do with the Void Century. Something happened with the Buccaneer race that they wrote out for Joy Boy, Warrior of Liberation, Nika. We saw this when you should pull up, yo, guys. The story's getting better, and the clues are getting better, and we're getting more evidence. And the God Valley flashback ends with, of course, these final statements. Hold it, Rocks. That's what Roger says. And Roger gets told this by Rocks. Don't get in my way. And that's the end of the God Valley flashback. So what we know is every arc or every flashback has a last main battle or last main moment. Oda pretty much told us Rocks versus Roger is going to be the last main moment. Me personally, I would rather see Roger versus Rocks more so than Garp versus Rocks. I think Garp helping out would be pretty cool, but I want to see Roger do the heroic act. And maybe that's why Garp doesn't want to talk about it, because Garp knows that it wasn't all me. It was Roger mostly who did something. And I want to see more of this. Right now it's a lot of assuming, so there's my take on everything. Of course, there's still things you could talk about after the God 5 flashback. I know that was the main juice of the chapter, but there's still things you could talk about. Like, of course, Kuma saving 500 people and still praying, and he wished he saved more people. And Ivankov tells him, the hand of liberation. What you did was the hand of liberation. It's crazy because the warrior liberation and the hand of liberation, those are some nicknames that I think that definitely more evidence that Luffy and Kuma are gonna have to do something together. And he liberated the warrior liberation before the time skip, the Straw Pirates, from dying to Sentamaru, the Pacifistas, and of course the Admiral Kizaru. Then I do gotta say this, Kuma living in a church, that's what Ivanka says. You living in a church suits your personality, because he has a very soft, good-hearted personality. But I think it also makes sense why he's always carrying that Bible around. We always wondered why he was carrying the Bible around. Well, now we know. We're seeing more of Kuma's life. And of course, Kuma says, I will never forget your face. And that's a deep statement, because we saw in Marineford what he said. Like, he didn't say anything. Ivanka's like, how could you forget my face? Nobody forgets my big face. Everything's tying back together. Ichiro Oda, you're a madman. And the end of the chapter was Ginny and Kuma living a happy life, working hard, not stealing anymore, working hard. She even asked him, when did you become a slave? And Kuma says, when I was 4 years old. And she says, same. And she stands up for Kuma when he gets bullied. Kuma's stronger than the bullies, but of course Kuma's a soft-hearted person, so he's not gonna fight back. And Kuma, even after Ginny beat those two kids up, Kuma healed them with his Delver ability. And that was, to me, very, very cool seeing how the relationship, and Kuma even called her a glutton. We know Bonnie's nickname is the Glutton, and she was so happy when she ate because Kuma gave her extra food, and her stomach was finally full for the first time. And Kuma started crying, she started crying, then Kuma started crying. And it reminds me of Luffy said to Kaido at the end of Wano. The warrior liberation said, I just want a place where all my friends can eat. And seeing Bonnie and Kuma, Bonnie's mother and Kuma bond over that food, man, oh man, Oda, you are making a great story, I must say. Now, of course, the beginning of the chapter, I will talk about some minor information at the beginning of the chapter. We see that there's 150 rare rabbits. Rabbits are just humans, guys, but they're calling them because it's a hunt. So 150 rare rabbits and 13 super rare rabbits that are worth 10,000 points. And if you get a one-shot kill, it gives you a skill bonus. So they're playing in real life Call of Duty. Yes, IRL Call of Duty, and these Lesser Dragons are just sick in the head. I can't wait till they all die. Guys, this is the first time I ever said that about an anime manga, but these guys are just piece of shits. We also see Figureline Garling shit talking, pretty much like saying that I'm gonna win and no one has a chance. We also see a situation of this girl with her hair over her eyes saying that the Man Myers family is gonna win, so we get a new Celestial Dragon family revealed. We also see that Gas Mask Holy Knight, which looks like the character from Big Mom's flashback, but I'm not too sure. And he tells Figureline Garden to relax, pretty much saying that it's not going to be easy. And there's another Holy Knight just staring that looks like just a staring with the hair. I don't know. So yeah, we're getting some Holy Knights introduced. I think we got 6 Holy Knights introduced in this chapter. It's all setting up the Revolutionary versus Holy Knights that's about to happen after Egghead. So I think that's pretty cool. We also see that there's ships surrounding God Valley, and that's crazy. All these ships surrounding God Valley, they're having this murder festival. These are Ivanka's words, not mine, just to claim all these natural resources. And we see pretty much 10,000 civilians are gonna be murdered, yo. They're all branded rabbits for this hunt, and not a single one will survive. And it's crazy. And they have 3 weeks, and they're not gonna survive, not a single one. It's all capped, it's all rigged, and it's all false hope. So they actually continue running away and playing this rigged game. And Ivanka pretty much says, just focus on escaping, because that's the only chance you have. It just shows you how sad this whole arc is, if you think about it, how deep it is. A lot of people are even related just to real world topics that have happened in history and currently right now in the world. We also see Garling with a quick 10,000 points, of course, and they say that he's going for all the super rare rabbits. So I'm thinking super rare races. Like Garden probably is gonna have a moment of facing Kuma. I think it's gonna happen. They haven't shown it yet. You probably think, why not show it in, of course, the arc right now where they're doing Kuma's flashback? I think you better show it in the full God Valley moment, because I think there's something they're hiding. Oda always, when Oda doesn't show something, I think there's more to it. And then we also see this shark fishman that's breaking the chains by biting every slave's chain. We saw with Ivankov's chain. And Ivankov compliments his shark fishman, saying, "You're strong. You have a really strong jaw." And I was like, "Hey, yo," because you know how Ivankov is. I was like, "Ivankov, you trying to get down with this shark fishman? Like, what is going on?" I don't know. We also got some information during the God Valley flashback of one of the prizes being the strongest class of Delta Fruit, turning yourself into an Azure Dragon or Kato's Delta ability. So confirmation, more and more confirmation of how strong Kato's Delta ability is. Makes sense. He's the strongest creature alive, and even why Vegabond tried to replicate it with Momonosuke's Delta ability. And of course, also there's the other prize, the Paw Fruit, that can blast yourself and others to a distant island. So the Paw Fruit had to be impactful during the Void Century, and I think the Azure Dragon Kaido's Delta Fruit was also impactful to the Void Century for them to be this much prizes leveled here. And we see that Ginny was a pro thief and a pro wiretaper, and she leaked the information. She stole Dendemushi and leaked information 2 weeks ago for decoys, so they can actually escape better and take the prizes that are in the center of the island. It's pretty cool how Kuma said, "Why don't I just be the decoy? I'm very strong. I can distract them for a little bit." But I'm thinking, Ginny said, "I don't want anyone to die for our cause." And Ivanka said, "Yeah, no one's dying." So Kuma always putting himself out there, sacrifice himself. This is some hints of him in the future doing it. And he does do it, yo. He gives up his mind and his everything, his body, his mind, everything, sacrificing himself. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, that's about it. That's my full discussion on the One Piece chapter. It's a pretty long discussion, and the reason why it's so long is because this is not no regular One Piece chapter. There's going to be countless videos on this chapter because so much was revealed, and people are thinking, oh, it just showed like hints, glimpses of the God Valley Flash. No, so much was revealed. I can make videos for months just off this one chapter, guys. So I'm excited, guys, and you should turn on notification because you're going to miss some of these fire videos, and the quality is going to get better, guys. I'm really trying to make the quality better. There's some things behind the scenes I'm working on, so support the channel and you guys will get better content soon. I know people are happy about the content now, but I want to give you guys better and better, like this crazy quality, so stay tuned.